You know, I'm reminded of those famous words, lines of Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, Rashtrakavi Ramdhari Singh Dinkar. सच पूछो तो शर में ही बसती है दीप्ति विनय की, संधि वचन संपूज्य उसी का जिसमें शक्ति विजय की. And this is that Shakti Vijay ki that India is clearly displaying in this combat. Sandeep, Shweta, stay with me. We will take this forward. This is peace through strength that India seeks to achieve, Sandeep.
Absolutely, Gaurav. And you know, when the Indian Navy joins the fray, it is, as General Atta Hasnain was mentioning, that we've moved the conflict into another dimension. And this is the dimension where India has huge overmatch over Pakistan. In the maritime domain, we possibly outnumber Pakistan by 5 or 6 to 1. And that is the kind of ratios that the Indian Navy is able to bring to bear on Pakistan's jugular. As Shweta just said, it's possibly not Kashmir, but it's actually the maritime route that Pakistan is so critically dependent on for everything, for imports, for exports, for oil, energy. Everything is critically dependent on over the seas, and particularly through Karachi. And if the Indian Navy were to appear at the gates of Karachi, Pakistan would start worrying very, very greatly. And that
no, but explain this to me, Sandeep, because, you know, while Karachi burning was a reality in 1971, yes, I'm sure Pakistani Navy planners would have learned their lessons. They would have their mines, their minesweepers. They would have laid mines. I mean, we have the MIGM, those acoustic, mines. We are just testing some of the new equipment. But Pakistan is also a very well-trained Army, Navy and Air Force.
Yes, but you know, when they start laying minefields outside Karachi or along the coast, Gaurav, they are denying. Nothing comes in either, and they're so dependent. They absolutely need the sea route to survive, because most of their energy comes from over the sea. They have a requirement of something like 500,000 barrels of oil per day, and that most of it comes over the seas, and they need an open sea for that, which is why the prospect of a maritime blockade or any strike from the sea, which will keep maritime traffic away from the North Arabian Sea, would deeply, deeply worry the generals in GHQ Rawalpindi, particularly General Asim Munir, Gaurav.
Okay, you know, we are live throughout because our armed forces are live throughout protecting our borders, and their valor has to be reported so that you know you are very well protected from that radical Islamist terror state, Pakistan. And General Hasnain, before I bring in Geeta Mohan and Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur into this conversation, I want to understand from you, Pakistan, we work on sea control. We want to dominate the seas, but Pakistan works on the sea denial concept, and that's why it's worked extensively on its submarines. It's been getting a lot of equipment from the Chinese Navy, and they've been strengthening Gwadar as a port. How concerned should we be? We are targeting Karachi, but in their submarines could be lurking somewhere in the Arabian Sea and attempt to strike us from behind. You're on mute, General.
Sorry.
Go on, sir.
Yeah, a good point you brought out, Gaurav. There's no doubt that the moment you make a maneuver of this kind, you have to guard your flanks. Any military man will tell you that the moment you forget your flanks and forget your rear, you start becoming very, very vulnerable. So here, obviously, there is a lurking threat under the sea, which is there. They have their subs very much out at the moment. They have been also in conjunction with the PLA Navy doing a lot of exercises in this area, yes, right from Djibouti to Gwadar. This area of the triangle of the Northwest Indian Ocean has been under the domination of the PLA Navy and the Pakistan Navy for quite some time. So, you know, they will try and project a lot of threats to us, but I think we are far too strong here.
Okay.
The PLA Navy itself doesn't have a blue water capability as such to reach, yes, out to such areas as this. The Indian Navy need not go all out to do a kind of a sea denial or carry out even an attack on Karachi harbour, because its mere presence there, actually the threat that it causes will ensure that more merchant shipping in this area will keep away from it. Because this becomes an almost war zone. The price, the insurance prices will go up manifold. Anyone who was having to bring in anything to Karachi would probably charge a package absolutely to do that. So Pakistan is not in a position to afford anything of that kind. So actually, you don't have to really physically attack it. Actually,
Yes.
as long as the maneuver is there, the threat in being is there, it is sufficient to keep Pakistan on tenterhooks. And Pakistan will be forced to look towards the maritime domain before it can take any decisions on the ground and in the air. And I'm sure Air Marshal Manmohan Bahadur will agree with me on that.
In fact, I wanted to come to Air Marshal Manmohan Bahadur, but Geeta has more inputs that are coming in. Air Marshal, give me a moment as I bring in Geeta Mohan on the war on the diplomatic front, because that again is an area where from Prime Minister Narendra Modi to National Security Advisor Ajit Doval to External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, India is on a very strong footing, continuously engaging partners, telling them about Pakistan's radical Islamist terror state. So how is the diplomatic war, how is the maneuvering there, Geeta?
Well, Gaurav, the channels of communication have opened up. They were open last time around also when India decided to attack and target the terror hubs within the 9 terror targets within Pakistani territory and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. For the first time entering the Punjab, they'd informed partner countries, key allies like the United States of America, the UK, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and the UAE. This time around, we know that the conversations have already opened up with the United States of America. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has his own line of communication other than Dr. Jaishankar, where he speaks with his, not just his counterparts, but with leadership from various countries, particularly the Gulf states, keeping them informed. They are important allies and partners. Remember, the massive shift that we've seen in diplomacy, in geopolitics, when there was a time Gulf states, West Asia, would not side with India, would not support India on anything to do with Pakistan, particularly Kashmir. But this time around, you've seen a massive change. Not only have they come out in support, they've been constantly in touch. They speak of de-escalation, but raise concerns with regards to terrorism. That in itself is a huge shift. So yes, communications have opened up, but Gaurav, the most important bit, Asim Munir carrying out this operation just a day before Pakistan goes to IMF. I mean, what is the message here? What is the man trying to do? It's almost like a death wish. They're going into a meeting with IMF, and just a day before, this is what Asim Munir does.
That's why Geeta Mohan is the best foreign affairs correspondent, because she gets you those amazing insights into how Pakistan is digging its grave. And, you know, Sandeep, there's an old saying that stop digging if you're digging yourself when you're in a ditch. Pakistan's just digging itself deeper in the ditch. Good for us, bad for them. But Sandeep, the targeting of Karachi, the operations in Lahore, the blast in Peshawar, it would seem Pakistan is actually facing offensive at multiple fronts, on multiple fronts.
Strategic encirclement of Pakistan, Gaurav, and in a way that we have not seen in several years. Pakistan's free pass that it had for so long, for 25 years, it's had a free run with terror attacks across the length and breadth of India, and of course, starting from 26/11 to those 26 tourists that they murdered brutally in Pahalgam. Yes. It's now time to pay the bills, Gaurav. And this is exactly what's been happening over the last 48 hours. Pakistan and its terror machinery, its Pakistan military and the jihadi complex that the military has nurtured for over 4 decades is now realizing that, you know, it cannot have a free pass any longer with the kind of attacks that it's been carrying out in the past. There will be consequences, Gaurav. There will be consequences, and you are now witnessing the full impact of those consequences right now. General Asim Munir and his generals are sitting inside GHQ Rawalpindi and watching with great dismay about the kind of situation that they've brought Pakistan into. And the last time this happened, Kargil, was in 1999. You know what happened in Pakistan? There was a coup.
There was a coup.
He took over forcibly. When General Musharraf was cornered, he took over. Will Asim Munir do the same? Will he actually overthrow the civilian administration and take over the reins of power? Or will some other ambitious general who's waiting in the wings, an ambitious Corps commander, take charge.
Corps commander, yeah.
and unseat Asim Munir. It's an extremely unpredictable country that we're dealing with.
When your adversary is cornered, he's also the most dangerous because he could do something irrational. Air Marshal Bahadur, you being an aviator and you being in the Air Force, and Air Force has a bird's eye view of the situation. Give us a 360-degree perspective of what Pakistan has been through in the past, not even 12 hours, in the past 6 hours. The fact that there's been a blast in Peshawar, Lahore has been targeted, all their attempts to target India across the spectrum of the India-Pakistan border, that has failed. Now Karachi has been targeted. What would General Asim Munir do? Would he back down or would he launch even a fiercer attack now?
He has his supporters. It's not that he has run out of ammunition. What he would be seeing on his board or on his computer is that he is cornered now from the south and on his eastern flank. Okay, he has reserves right now. His army has not moved in as such or moved anywhere. Yes. So to think that his with his back to the wall, not exactly, but that's where, as I said, the diplomatic pressures will start coming on, or internal pressures will start coming on. He has to call it a day at some point of time. The point is, when he calls it a day, what is it that we would get? What sort of assurance, what sort of reliability in what comes to us? Because remember, this is something that he has started. Yes. But it's not that it will stop when he says stop. So we've got to be very clear. What is it that, having that now that we are in it, what is our aim, our political aim that should be there at this stage? Because with having the upper hand right now, well, we've got our assets, we've got the cards, as President Trump says, we hold the cards. So we need to play our cards very carefully right now to make sure that we, at the end of the day, we get, after having lost people, after having lost civilians, our infrastructure also, and the fact that we lost in Pahalgam, and we had an attack in Pahalgam, which struck at the basic ethos of our society, a multi-religious, multicultural society that we have. Yes. We cannot afford to let this continue. So I think we will weigh our cards and then
when you talk about principles of war, General Hasnain, there is an aim and there is maintenance of aim. What's our aim? What would be the maintenance of our aim, General Hasnain? Point one, point two, as far as Pakistan is concerned, what would Pakistan be doing? What would the Pakistan Army Chief be doing right now in your appreciation? As we look at these images, oh my God, watch those images of a total blackout all along all those multiple cities in our country, in all the border areas. Look at those images that are coming in. Samba, of course, you have some light that's still on. Pathankot, absolutely dark. Amritsar, absolutely dark. Gurdaspur, virtually dark. Akhnur is dark. Jaisalmer is dark. The situation remains tense, ladies and gentlemen. There is clear and present danger because, General Hasnain, a cornered adversary may not be a rational adversary. Would he scale up? Can he escalate, General Hasnain?
Good, Gaurav, very good questions. Let me start by, first of all, observing that your photographs of all the blackouts, this is after 1971. The first time after 55 years, 54 years, that we are looking at blackouts, and I'm surprised actually how effective the blackouts are. You know, our civil defense system, lots of people were questioning our civil defense system because it's not been activated for fairly long. But you have got a whole disaster management system, which I look after myself, and riding on top of the disaster management system is the civil defense system today, which is gaining efficiency by the day. And you can see it right on your screens out here. But coming to your specific question on selection and maintenance of aim, which is essential, the first principle of war. Now, in this case, I think the manner in which India has launched its operations, the aim at this particular time will be to continue to maintain relentless pressure on Pakistan. to prevent it from undertaking any further major operations against us. And what is happening at the moment are small, sporadic forays which are taking place towards the border. There is no major attack as such. We have negated and neutralized them all. But this pressure must be maintained on them. The pressure with the maneuver we are making from the maritime domain is again one other prong to maintain that pressure on them. So far, we have moved nothing on the ground. If that also happens, it will be another screw which will be turned. So what is important at this particular stage is to continue to turn the screws. And with each turn of the screw, the pressure must build up on them. So that relentlessly at the end of it, he has to hold back. He has to de-escalate completely in this particular case. Pakistan would be at this time particularly looking for the aim to withstand that pressure.
Okay.
And to give it, to hit back India in such a manner that it does not escalate, but at the same time forces India to rethink its strategy. Considering all things at the moment, the Indian strategy of maintaining relentless pressure appears to be the one which will more likely succeed at this point in time.